Hello and welcome to the Vessel and Voice podcast. I'm your host, Kim Charlson, and we'll be joined by Monty, my spirit guide, in a little bit, and he'll be talking all about psychic skills and psychic gifts and whether or not you can be born psychic. Before we get into today's episode, I want to invite you to join us in the Awakened Authenticity community, where Monty and I post weekly messages of channeled guidance to help you move forward on your spiritual journey. Every week is unique, and every week Monty gives us a different task that we all can work on to improve our soul connection and how we're actually showing up in the world. So I'd love to have you join us in there for just $15 a month. If you're not ready to join a community and would like something more private, you can also join Monty and I for a private channeling session where you can ask up to 8 to 10 questions, and we'll be able to provide you some personalized guidance on your soul path. Before we hear from Monty today, I want to share a little bit of my own experiences becoming someone who can access my psychic skills very easily. And it really comes down to the fact that when I was younger, until about 4 years ago, I thought that psychics were at best well-meaning and at worst probably a scam. And I know that that's a very common refrain for many people in the spiritual space, especially if they weren't raised spiritual, that it comes to this awareness that they gain over time of, hey, maybe this stuff is actually quite legitimate. Which is where I found myself after a number of years of working on my energy, where I was really trying and unable to use my psychic skills. That when I was in a session with my energy healer, I could sense the energy, I could feel it, I could really identify my blocks, I could interact with different spirit beings that came in session. But as soon as she wasn't there, guiding my energy, boosting my energy up, I was really not able to sense much of anything when I was on my own. And that is the case for very many people when they are first starting off on their spiritual journey. They really, really want to be able to open up their psychic gifts and be able to communicate with the non-physical realm. But no matter how hard they try, they just can't seem to do that. And I was in the same boat. I really thought, this must be a gift that she has. It's for a select few. At best, I may be able to feel some things every so often, but it's something you must be born with or not. And I'm just not one of those people that was born with it. And I really felt that way for quite a while because no matter how much I meditated, no matter how much I tried, I just couldn't get there. But over time, the more and more that I tried, the more and more that I practiced, it started to open up and it started to come through quite strongly. And it got to the point where eventually I decided to become an energy healer, as I talked about in a previous episode, and then spontaneously voice channeled for the first time. And it was very, very surprising of a process versus going from not being able to sense anything to now very easily and very quickly being able to connect with Monty and other spirit beings and being able to provide that for a lot of other people. The process of how I did that really stems from understanding what Monty talks about in today's episode. So I'm going to let him start us off in today's episode and explain what psychic gifts really are and how we can start to open up to those and share his advice for what to do if you're struggling. And I'll see you at the end of this episode. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode, where we will be answering some important questions about spiritual gifts. Now, we would like to, instead of talk about them as spiritual gifts, but rather spiritual skills, because it is important for you to understand that these are not gifts, but rather things that are inbuilt into your abilities. They are things that you can work on to be able to learn them more. Now, there is the idea that it is a gift from the universe that allows you to access different things by allowing you to use your spiritual gifts. And we understand this sentiment and would like to reflect upon that for a moment. It is important to understand that, yes, these are gifts in so much as they are things that are bestowed upon you that you can use. However, it is important to also understand that these are things that can be cultivated. And so we would rather call them skills rather than gifts for this reason, because everyone has these abilities at some point in some incarnation that they will inhabit. It may be that in this lifetime you are unable to access these particular skills and that you are laying the foundation to be able to use them in a future incarnation. It may be that this incarnation you have done work previously that allows you to be able to use these skills. As well, there are certain individuals for whom these skills will come more naturally because their souls are more easily accessible to these skills than others. However, these are indeed things that you can work on. So, what are spiritual skills in the first place, and how could we describe them? It is any time that you are working in the non-physical energies, and this is why we say they are available to everyone. Everyone is capable of working in the non-physical, and in fact, you are doing it right now, whether or not you are aware of it. Because in your essence of who you are already first and foremost non-physical and experiencing physical manifestation because you have decided to take your energy and make it present in physical manifestation. It is important to understand that this was a choice that you made, but at the end of everything, in your full culmination, you are non-physical first and foremost. It is more important to understand that because then you are able to open up to the idea that these sorts of spiritual skills are accessible to you. Spiritual skills are any time that you're interfacing primarily with the non-physical. This may be skills such as being able to see, sense, hear certain energies, being able to read different energies and interact with them. But it can also be the ability to take in different non-physical energies into your physical vessel to work with them. You are doing this right now, whether or not you are aware of it. But it is the awareness of it and the intentionality of it that people term a spiritual gift. When someone decides to be more practiced in interacting with non-physical energies, this is when we identify it as a spiritual gift. It is important to understand that this is not truly what is happening, but rather that you are prioritizing working with non-physical energies over working with physical manifestation. It is that your consciousness and your focus has resumed its attention on non-physical over the physical. It is important to understand that when you want to begin to open up your psychic gifts, your psychic skills, and be able to use them, it is the transference from your focus on the physical to the non-physical. It is the resumption of your consciousness being primarily focused on the non-physical world, the non-physical energies that are present with you, and thus allows your consciousness to be able to interact with, interpret, and predict non-physical interactions that then may result in physical interactions. The physical and non-physical are mirrors to one another, but also in a balance, that when something changes in the non-physical, the balance must be recalibrated to bring it into alignment in the physical. This is how physical to non-physical energies work. It also goes both ways, as we have talked about in a previous episode. It is important to understand that when your consciousness resumes its focus on the non-physical, this intentionality of your focus allows you to begin to open your psychic skills. It is merely the focus of your consciousness that dictates whether or not you are able to use your psychic skills. So, if you are someone who is struggling with the ability to open up your psychic gifts, your psychic skills, and be able to experience the non-physical realm as it is and is interacting with your energy in this moment, what is important is that you need to focus your attention more fervently on the existence and interactions of the non-physical world. It is that your consciousness is extremely focused on the physical world, on physical manifestation. You may find that the reason why you wish to open up your psychic skills is so that way you can do things in the physical manifestation to predict certain outcomes. And while this is something that you can do through the focus on the non-physical, this intentionality is what is keeping you from being open to the non-physical energies. That you are merely allowing your focus to be on the physical realm and seeing the non-physical as merely a means to an end to justify focusing your attention on building these skills. However, for you to truly begin to be able to process non-physical energies in such a manner that it helps you in the physical realm, you must let go of that intention first and rather set the intention to really just simply open to the existence of the non-physical, of its importance, of its, we will say the word superiority, because in our opinion, it all starts in the non-physical first before it becomes physical. Now, this is not to say that things in physical manifestation do not affect the energies in non-physical. That is not our point, but rather that you started as non-physical. Your soul, in its very first existence, started in the non-physical first before it became physical. The world at large, the universe, all of the energies are significantly weighted to the non-physical. There is significantly more of creation in the non-physical than there is in the physical. The physical is extremely limited in its ability to be manifest versus the non-physical world. The more that you can acknowledge that there is more out there than you can comprehend by your focus on the physical world of what is aware to you in physicality in this moment, and admit to yourself that you are open but unknowing about the non-physical world, this will allow you to begin to open up your psychic skills much more readily. Now, there comes a great amount of fear with this ability of saying, I do not know what I will encounter. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable in any respect, even just a little bit, that is fear that you are experiencing. And for many individuals, fear is the number one cause of the energy blockage that is preventing you from opening up your psychic senses. This is, again, fear is showing up as a refocusing of your consciousness on physical manifestation. In this instance, what fear truly is a protective mechanism of your own consciousness of saying, we do not understand what is non-physical. We do not know what is there. And so, therefore, we will focus our attention and our consciousness on the physical because it is physically present. We can see it. We can understand it. There are certain rules that regulate it. And we can understand those rules much more intimately than we can this non-corporeal, non-physical world that seems so strange and so at odds with these rules of how things are supposed to work. Truly, this fear is the reason that most individuals are struggling with opening up their psychic skills. If you feel any discomfort at the unknown of the non-physical, of what may happen, of the potential dangers that are there, that is what you need to work through first, of understanding that you are safe in the non-physical world when you set the correct intentions for yourself. When you are only in the discernment of bringing in energies that are beneficial to you. And this is skills that you will learn over time, but also trust that you are supported in this endeavor. As a reminder, you are never alone, despite that you may feel alone in physical manifestation. You are surrounded by a group of non-physical beings, your spirit guides, your ancestors, your other spirit beings who are committed to your lineage and your growth, that are guarding you, shepherding you, caring for you in the non-physical world. And so when you open up to the non-physical world, they are there to help and accompany you as part of that process. It is our divine honor to be able to do that, to show you our divine unconditional love as spirit guides to help you understand that the non-physical is a safe place to be and is a place where you can focus your consciousness easily. Now, to begin to open up your psychic skills, being able to discern different energies is of the utmost importance because this is what allows you to engage with different energies. to be able to interface and collaborate with different energies in the non-physical. We always instruct our beginner students to first focus their consciousness on the non-physical, collaborate with their spirit guides so they feel more at ease and more supported, and learn how to discern different energies. There is a very simple process that we will have Kimberly explain at the end of this episode to help you understand how you can begin to prioritize your own development of your psychic senses by focusing on the non-physical. We hope that this explains why certain individuals are much more adept at psychic skills and how you can begin to open them up yourself. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We send you great love and support in your endeavors of moving forward, learning how to open your own psychic abilities. That is all. I've really loved that this episode and the last episode, Monty has directed me very specifically about what he wants me to talk about. So today we're going to be talking about an exercise that I recommend for all beginners. And it's something that we covered in the Spirit Guidance for Beginners course that I'm going to walk you through. What you'll need is a crystal that you don't know what it's for or the energy of. So this is, for example, a palm root fossil. So it's technically a fossil rather than a crystal, but basically any rock or object will suit for this purpose. You just need to be able to look it up later if it has a specific meaning or a specific energy behind it, and that you don't yet know what it is. That's the key part. Because a lot of building energetic discernment is also building trust in your own psychic abilities and knowing, hey, I got that right, and having that verification. This was a crystal that I worked with actually on my own because it was something that got sent to me as a bonus when I bought a bunch of crystal bracelets when I was earlier on in my spiritual journey. I didn't know anything about it, and I decided not to look it up and rather allowed it to show me what its energy was like. So that's exactly what we're going to do in our crystal discernment exercise. So I'm going to walk you through this. If you want a full meditation, you can join the Spirit Guidance for Beginners course, where you'll find this meditation in its full form, as well as a bunch of other meditations to help you begin connecting with your spirit guides. But let me walk you through today's exercise. And this is something that you can apply on your own when you decide that you want to start working on your psychic skills. First thing you want to do is take a deep breath and close your eyes and get centered. And if you know how, you want to ground down your energy as fully and completely as you can. So that way you're bringing through the energy of the crystal into the physical world as much as possible. Because when we're channeling, that's basically what we're doing, is we're bringing energies from the non-physical into the physical world. So we want to be very grounded, as well as we feel a lot safer when we're grounded, especially when we're opening up our psychic senses in the beginning. After you've grounded down, next thing you want to do is remove your thinking mind. So you want to visualize that you've got energy around the top of your head or in your head, or if you can, just feel that. But your intention is just enough. You're going to take all of that energy, gather it into a ball, set it in front of you, and ask it politely, because we always want to be polite to our thinking mind. Now is not the time. I'm going to set you to the side, and I'm going to use my intuitive mind instead. And then you want to check and make sure that everything is gone and all that energy from your thinking mind is off to the side, and just double verify that. And then once you've done that, you'll feel this energy that's left behind that is a lot more free flowing. It doesn't seem quite as logical, but it still has that sense of consciousness to it. And that's your intuitive mind in the space that's left behind. Once you've done that, you want to take your crystal with your eyes closed and just focus your attention on the crystal and allow whatever it is that comes up to come forward from the crystal. If you feel like your thinking mind is getting involved again, so the more that you can practice setting aside your thinking mind, the more you'll know, oh, that's my thinking mind, versus I'm receiving something from the crystal. You want to set your thinking mind to the side, but anything that shows up at that point, any sensations that you feel, any visualizations, colors, lights, pretty much anything that comes up, that's energy from the crystal that you're receiving because you focused your consciousness onto the crystal. And what you will find is that every crystal feels different, and you'll be able to start to discern between different crystals and really get to know their energy. The reason why we like working with crystals is because they are in a stable format, because they're in physical manifestation and they don't really change. Their energy is very solid versus working with a spirit being. Their energy changes pretty often depending on their mood. So that's why we recommend working with crystals, especially since there is typically a defined set of meanings behind crystals and energies that have been identified by lots of practitioners over the years. One of the other reasons that crystals are really great to work with as well is that as we're starting to open up our psychic skills, much of our focus is still on the physical realm. And what we're needing to do, as Monty has talked about in today's episode, is really transfer our consciousness and our focus onto the non physical world. Crystals, in that way, it has a physical form, but it has a very specific non physical energy that's associated with it. And so by allowing our consciousness to acclimate of that we're focusing on a physical thing and tuning into the non-physical energy, it allows our consciousness to feel a little bit more comfortable and let go of that fear of accessing the non-physical world and energy that's present. Personally, I found that doing crystal meditations was the thing that really opened up my psychic senses, even more so than doing lots of energy work and doing lots of meditations. Doing the attentive focus of really making sure that I was tuning into the energy and focusing on the non-physical and writing down what I felt as I was getting to know the crystals more and more, because it did change over time, not because the energy changed, but because my focus on it changed. That allowed my psychic senses to really open up. It wasn't as much for me of doing energy clearings to open up my psychic senses, which is often a very common technique, so much as really focusing on that non-physical world and feeling more comfortable with it and more safe with it. After I had done the crystal meditations for a while and had worked with about 10 to 12 different crystals, at that point, I was finally able to access and collaborate with my spirit guides because I could discern their energy enough that every other time that I'd tried, they had been there, but my psychic skills weren't open enough, weren't ready enough, and weren't able to tell the differences between my different guides. So doing that discernment allowed me to really focus on each guide individually and get to know them. Give this exercise a try, and if you want some more help, definitely be sure to join us in Spirit Guidance for Beginners, and we will see you in the next episode.